What is up, everybody, and welcome to the first Disney World Top 10 presented by the Disney Nerd. So, this is going to be a new Top 10 series that I'm doing where I'm going to be revealing some of my top 10 favorite things about certain things at Disney World. This first one's going to be very simple. It's going to be my favorite 10 things to do at Disney World. So, the first we're going to set up some rules for this list. First rule, I'm only going to be talking about Disney World things. If it's in Disneyland and it's not in Disney World and I haven't been to it in Disney World, or I haven't been to it in Disneyland, I'm not going to be talking about it. I just haven't been. I want to go, but I just haven't been able to. Second, I have been to just about everywhere in the four main parks, which is what I'm going to be talking about, the four main parks, except for I have not been to the World of Pandora. And we went back in 2017, the summer of 2017. It was such a long wait because it was literally about 2-3 weeks after Pandora opened was when we went, and it was just it was too much. We could not stand in line that long. We had my grandma with me, who was, she was having to ride in a wheelchair because, I mean, she can walk and all, but it's very hard on her, so we get her the wheelchair. Oh, whatever. It would have just been way too long, and we wouldn't have been able to do anything else except maybe like Cali River Rapids or something. Anyways, I'm also not constricting this list just to roller coasters. Anything in the parks, in the four main parks, it's available for the list, even if it's a show, if it's whatever it is. So, without further ado, my top 10 favorite attractions at Disney World. Number 10. Now, I'm not one of those basic Disney fans who go to Disney World just for the roller coasters. I like to sometimes go in, sit down, watch a show, do all that fun stuff. Now, not every show is great, or even bearable. Get it? Because my number 10's Country Bear Jamboree. I put the joke in because it's bearable. Oh, okay, I'll stop. Anyways, I do enjoy several shows, including this one. Yes, I'm one of those people that really enjoyed Ellen's Energy Adventure. I really like going into these pavilions, being able to sit down, just enjoy a show. If it gets a laugh out of me, it gets a laugh out of me, and that's exactly what Ellen's Energy Adventure does. But we're not talking about Ellen's Energy Adventure. We are talking about the Country Bear Jamboree. It's a very fun experience for the entire family to enjoy. It was originally meant to be at a ski resort that was never built, as is half of what Disney's plans seem to do, it seems. So Walt Disney decided to put it in his park instead. It being one of the last projects Walt Disney actually personally had a hand in making, and it was released to the public in 1971 in Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. The show's simple, following a bunch of bears led by Henry playing a bunch of different country songs for around 15 to 20 minutes. Now, there was a refurb that they did to Country Bear Jamboree, which shortened the runtime from 16 minutes to 12 minutes. That is in the Disney World parks. I know in Tokyo, Disney World, I believe it's still the regular 16-minute runtime, but they shortened it. I don't know why. Probably because they're thinking of closing it sooner or later, which is a sad thing. But, And that's about it. There's nothing, like ridiculously crazy to it. It's not extremely complicated, but it's a nice break from the craziness of the rest of Magic Kingdom. Luckily, and unfortunately also, not too many people go to the attraction, but it definitely has its cult following. The only downside, really, is it isn't as interactive as most of the other stage shows that are on this list, especially the ones that you'll see in the later spots on this list. There was also a Disneyland version of the attraction, which ran from 1972 until its closure in 2001, and there's still one in Tokyo Disneyland that's been there since 1983. The upsides to the attraction are that it allows you to get away from the craziness of Magic Kingdom. There aren't too many people to where you're going to have to wait for the next show, and both Splash and Big Thunder Mountain are right around the corner from it. It's a really good spot where, if the line's not that long in Splash Mountain, or if you want to break in between mountains, if you just did Splash or Big Thunder and you want a break, you go into the Country Bear Jamboree, you watch the show for 12 minutes, then you can go back to getting to these rides and everything. It's really, really cool. And one of my favorite shops, Big Al's, which is probably one of my favorite shops in all of Disney World, is right beside it. It's literally right across from the pavilion. Unfortunately, on my last trip, I wasn't able to see the show because it was closed by the time my family got there because it was fairly late when we were going to see the Country Bear Jamboree, and we weren't able to get to everything because my family was going slow. But I'm going to make sure that when I go back in 2019 that I'm able to see the Country Bear Jamboree. Number 9, Kilimanjaro Safari. Another non-roller coaster. Kilimanjaro Safari allows you to see real animals up close as you go through an African safari adventure in Harambe National Forest Reserve thingy. It is absolutely stunning as you get to see these real live animals as close as probably anyone ever will. Originally, there was a story about poaching starring Little and Big Red, and there were even elephant corpses at one point in the safari's lifespan. However, they were taken out due to parents complaining about scaring their children. However, the entire poaching story was taken out after 14 years in 2012. The only story really now is that you're going on a journey through an African safari. It's definitely one of the most beautiful attractions in all of Disney World, and just a pro tip. Don't waste your time doing the Jungle Cruise at Magic Kingdom. I know people like Rob's Plays loved the Jungle Cruise because of the corniness and everything. And you know what? If you have small kids, Jungle Cruise is probably an okay thing to do. But even when I don't remember if I was 7 or 8 when I first went to Disney World, but even back then when I went on Jungle Cruise, I was just like, wow, this is really cheesy and everything. And then we head over to Kilimanjaro Safari and Animal Kingdom. I'm like, wow, this is really incredible. So much better than that Jungle Cruise ride that we ever did because the animals are fake. In my opinion, skip Jungle Cruise at Magic Kingdom. There's several things you can skip. I think there are several things. I might even make a top 10 video on what to skip at Magic Kingdom at least. Maybe even all of Walt Disney World. But I skipped Jungle Cruise. Go check out Kilimanjaro Safari. You can see the real thing right here in Animal Kingdom. It's definitely a better version of Jungle Cruise. The only downside is if you get stuck by a crossing animal. On my last trip, a bunch of giraffes walked across our path, and it took at least 15 to 20 minutes for all those baby giraffes to finish crossing. Now, don't get me wrong, I loved it. It was great. I got to see these giraffes up close. They got up right close to the cart. It was absolutely incredible, but it lengthened the time, and since it was about to rain, it was a little bit unfortunate that we had to wait there that long, but, aside that, it's still a wonderful experience that everyone should enjoy. Number 8, Rock and Roller Coaster, starring Aerosmith. The Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith stars, well, Aerosmith, as they try to get you and themselves to a concert they're supposed to be at but are late to. This intense coaster starts you going off from 0 to 60 miles per hour in the matter of just like 2 seconds. And it takes you through one of 3 different tracks, 2 with loops, and 1 that just has a corkscrew path. The end of the ride is at the red carpet of the Aerosmith concert where you exit. Now, the downside to this ride is that no matter whether or not you have a fast pass or you're just a regular rider to this ride, you are going to be waiting forever. No joke. I had a fast pass to the ride last time, and I came just after it had opened, I mind you. And I had to wait at least an hour and a half just to get inside the main area of the building. Like, I was standing outside. When we got in line, we were maybe 15, 20 minutes late to when the ride started to operate. And it was just, like, crazy. We were standing outside of the tented area and everything when we got there. And we were there for at least 20 minutes standing in the sun. And then we got up under it, and then it took another hour and a half for us to get anywhere in this ride. But whatever. It took us another 20 minutes once we got into the main queue area, but aside the long wait, it's worth it when you hear Steven Tyler count down and not even finish before you start going 60 in a dark tunnel. And upside, it's right near the Tower of Terror and Fantasmic. Like, I remember we had just rode Rock and Roller Coaster. Then we went to go do our Fast Pass in Tower of Terror, and then right after that we went to Fantasmic. It was a great doot doot doot, and we were right there. And it was a great way to end the night. A wonderful rock and ride at my favorite theme park in Disney World. Yes, I love Hollywood Studios more than the other parks. Bite me. Number 7. Space Mountain. What a classic Space Mountain is. Originally opening in 1975, it's a huge dart coaster that's designed to make you, the rider, feel like you're whizzing past shooting stars in the midst of outer space. There are two tracks that are strikingly similar, Alpha and Omega, which each can hold several cars on one track at a time. A fun dark ride that splits the Fast Pass and regular lines early enough, unlike Rock and Roller Coaster, where you are both in the same line forever up until you get to the main queue. Then you split off into Fast Pass and regular. That was very annoying in Rock and Roller Coaster, but I'm glad they do it early enough on Space Mountain. You do for a little bit, but then you split off into your separate paths. And that's why I put it ahead of the Rock and Roller Coaster, even though I do think that the rides are fairly similar in at least my enjoyment of them. I'm not having to wait 2.5 hours to get to the front of the line of Space Mountain. I might be waiting half an hour, maybe even an hour. I'm pretty sure it was only like 25 minutes when we went last time, but Space Mountain is a classic ride that everyone who goes to Disney World should experience. Number 6, Fantasmic. Now, I'm not a fan of fireworks shows, like, at all. And it's not because I don't think that it's boring or uncool or anything. It's just I have a fear of looking up, and when I look up to see fireworks, I get scared that I'm going to float away. Stupid? Yeah, but I don't like fireworks shows. Fantasmic, however, is by far the best fireworks slash laser slash water show that I've ever seen anywhere, and I will watch it any time that I go to Disney, no matter how big my fear is. Like, I will look up at those fireworks, and I will have a fun, enjoyable time no matter what. It's fantastic. It's such a beautiful show, as you can see here, and the plot is wonderful. Starting in 1998, in the Disney World version at least, you follow Mickey as he tries to defeat all the Disney villains that try to infect his wonderful dream that he's having. It's an absolutely beautiful experience that everyone who goes to Disney World should see, and almost every single segment of this show is absolutely worth it. I love it how they also have backups in case anything goes wrong in the show. If you want to see a separate video on that, comment down below, and I might just do it. But it's absolutely wonderful, and the only problem I have is looking up, and even that can get resolved most of the time. That's just because of an irrational fear, but Fantasmic is such a beautiful show. Anyone who goes to Disney World needs to see Fantasmic. Number 5, Festival of the Lion King. Being my favorite show with real actors, Festival of the Lion King has a huge audience that sits in 4 different sections of their Harambe Theater, and solidifies why Africa is my favorite land in Animal Kingdom. And no, I haven't been to Pandora yet. That's 2019 for me. Anyways, 4 live performers interact with the audience, pulling both adults and kids out to the main area to do certain things like giving the animal call to the section they're sitting in, or even dancing during the main performance of the show. It's a beautiful show with amazing, I believe they are all Broadway performers, singing and dancing, and everyone has just a fun time. It's such a fun show that anyone of any age can enjoy no matter what. I also appreciate how it isn't just a simple retelling of The Lion King. The Festival of the Lion King is its own original thing. I think it's definitely one of the weaker films in Disney's archive, but yet again, that's for a different video. Festival of the Lion King is a wonderful show that runs at the happiest place on earth, and in probably my favorite section in Animal Kingdom. Number 4, Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. Yeah, this one may come as a shocker, because I've never heard anyone put it on a best list, or an anything list, and I never understood why. I absolutely love this show. It's by far my favorite show in all of the parks. And I'm not joking with this pick at all. I absolutely love this show. During my last trip, some personal things made it difficult for me to really enjoy myself when I went to, especially the day of Magic Kingdom, which was the last day that we were there. But I went to the laugh floor, and by the time I was coming out, I was ready to ride everything, and I was just in an overall happy mood. I was in a fantastic mood as soon as I got out of that laugh floor because it was so funny. This is one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. I don't care what comedians you throw at me. I just love the show. I also love how every single experience that the show provides is completely different. If you don't know, the show's interactive to where there are live people behind the scenes making up jokes and making fun of people on the spot. The only scripted part is the part where Roz and Mike are making fun of each other, but as soon as Sam and Ella come out, the script stops and they pick on audience members to be certain characters. I love looking up at videos and seeing the different people react to what character they're supposed to be portraying and how they do it. This is the most interactive show at Disney World and always can get a laugh of me no matter how mad I am when I enter. The wait is also very short and is definitely a way better option than going to Stitch's Great Escape, which is right across the way. Trust me, do not go to Stitch's Great Escape if you are just going to another skippable one in Magic Kingdom. Like, we went to Space Mountain, and then we were just going to go straight to the laugh floor. And then it was just like, well, the first show of the laugh floor hasn't started yet, so we decided to hit up Stitch's Great Escape, because why not? And I didn't go on it back the second time that I went. I remember going on it one time. I remember it being scary the first time I went on it, but then again, I was very little. And then I went on this time, and it was just a stupid thing. I regret going on. It's the only ride that I actually regret going on. Definitely needs to be closed down for good. I know it's a seasonal thing now, but it definitely needs to go away. Go to the laugh floor to have an unexpected, fantastic, wonderful, good time. Number 3, Test Track. As you can tell, this is my one and only Epcot attraction on the list. I'm just not as big a fan of the park as I am of the other 3 because of how immersive they are compared to what there is to do in Epcot. I don't even think it's because of the ride amounts, because Epcot is more than Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom, but there's just something about Epcot that doesn't feel like Disney to me. Maybe after the improvements they're going to make, I might start enjoying it more. And when I go back in 2019, of course, I don't think everything is going to be ready by 2019. I think it'll be like 2021 by the 50th anniversary of Disney World. But anywho, that's beside the point. That's for a different video. This brings all the words I just said to shame. In Test Track, now sponsored by Chevrolet instead of General Motors like it was before, you can build your own ride and then test it out by checking out how it would stand with different tests that you, the rider, when the ride begins, will go through. The ride, while very clunky because your car isn't supposed to be perfect, is a fun experience with twists and turns to surprise every time you ride. Then the speed part comes, and this is where the ride gets its name because it's the fastest ride in Disney. Sure, it doesn't go from 0 to 60 like Rock and Roller Coaster does, but it reaches 65 miles per hour during the last portion of the ride, and you may be saying, well, that's not that impressive, now is it? But it does it on the turn, which, and I don't know everything about roller coasters, but it's like a G-force effect that comes in, and it makes you feel like you're going at least 100, 115, 120. It's just a wonderfully made ride with a perfect speed portion at the end. This used to be my favorite ride, but then I remembered what my actual favorite ride was because I rode it so many times. It's going to be number 1. And the reason this went from being my number 2 to number 3 is because the 3 times that I've been to Disney, twice we've had to come back later due to it being down, and one time we couldn't even get our fast passes through again. So it was just kind of a what's going on, Disney? Come on. But it's the only fault that this ride has, in my opinion, and it's a very good classic that I will ride every single time that I go to Disney, no matter how long I have to wait to come back. Number 2, Expedition Everest. Expedition Everest is a ride in the Asia portion of Animal Kingdom that's absolutely wonderful. You go on a hunt for a Yeti in the Himalayas, and it's definitely my favorite, I guess what you would call a traditional roller coaster, even though I guess you could call my number 1 a roller coaster. But anyways, back to Everest. One thing I love about this attraction is the atmosphere. While waiting in line, you can see newspapers of the Yeti you're going to be hunting for, and the number 1 thing about it is that it is cold. When being at these different attractions, I want to feel how I'm supposed to feel. And every single time that I go to Expedition Everest, I actually feel like I'm in the Himalayas due to how cold it is, which is key to making the ride feel the way it wants me to feel. Don't forget, don't forget to mention going backwards and seeing the Yeti, which is actually genuinely scary. I remember back in '07 or '08, during my first trip to Disney World, I was absolutely horrified by that Yeti. Of course, this is back, I guess it would be '07 because it was back when it was still in A mode. Now it's just stuck in B mode. Which, if you don't know what that means, it just means that the Yeti doesn't move anymore because, well, it's kind of broken because there's something, I forgot all the specifics, but there was it was cracking the area that the mountain that the ride is in. Anyways, it was genuinely, it was horrifying when that Yeti came down, and I was absolutely scared out of my mind. And the last 2 times I went, it's a little bit scary, but it's not that bad. It's a perfect setup to a wonderfully made ride. And my number one is, of course, the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. I absolutely love this ride. When I first went back in '08 or '07 or whenever, I rode this thing at least 3 to 4 times because I don't. There was just something about this ride. I'm not a big horror guy. I don't really like being scared that much, but I like being maybe just thrilled. And I think that this is a perfect thrill ride. It's not that great of a horror ride because I was never really scared of the thing, maybe the first time I went on it, but I loved it. It gave me such a good thrill. I mean, this ride was the best thing ever that I had ever done at that point. Everything from the theming of the Twilight Zone to the randomized drops that occur. Oh yeah, this thing drops if you don't know. Then again, who hasn't heard of the Tower of Terror? I just love thrill rides, probably more than anything at the parks. And since I have always loved the creepy factor of the Twilight Zone and everything combined, especially the queue, which is extremely creepy with all the elevators in the area, and then thinking about, well, what if those drop? Even though I know that they won't because they're not the Tower of Terror. And while I'm not scared of elevators because of the ride, it does make me think twice before I decide to hop in an elevator. I'll make sure the next time I check into a deserted hotel on the dark side of Hollywood, I'll make sure I know just what vacancy I'm filling. I can find myself a permanent resident of the Twilight Zone. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and that notification bell. Comment down below what Disney Top 10 I should do next. I'm going to have a new video coming at you Monday, hopefully. Unless this video is the Monday upload, then you'll have a video Friday. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.